Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing the Line. Don't fret, Albo has fixed the fuel crisis here in Australia. I know it's hard to believe that lispy turd of a human being has managed to solve this problem and we can all breathe easy. It's okay. Calm down. You don't actually have to sell your firstborn to fill up the car. They have announced and they have started a $20 million campaign telling us to use less petrol. I know it's a 4D chess move we didn't see coming. Now, I don't know if you're aware, the Australian government has slightly been giving off signs that they may have Down syndrome. I am not sure. We'll take a look at a few things, but first off, we're going to show this ad here from the Australian government, and this is just bear in mind they haven't just spent $20 million on this ad; it's a whole campaign. So don't just think that we're only getting one little ad. It's going to be like posters, flyers, you name it, radio announcements, things like that, to remind Australians that spending $3 a litre on petrol, you might want to just skimp out and not use so much. Maybe use some public transport. Make sure your PSI and your tyres is up, things like that. Maybe just walk to work, because Australia is such a small and accessible place. I mean, it is pretty flat. To be fair, Australia is quite a flat country, but why aren't you just walking everywhere? I mean, come on, guys. So we'll take a look at this ad, shall we?
The global fuel shortage is affecting us all. To keep us moving, the government has been working to secure Australia's fuel supply and has a 4-level National Fuel Security Plan. We're now at level 2, and we all have a part to play. Together, simple actions can make our supply go further and save fuel for our truckies, farmers and essential services. Every little bit helps. For fuel-saving tips, visit fuelplan.gov.au, authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
So as you can see there, they've hit all the demographics and probably a couple of gay people in there. Who knows? You can't really tell these days. But they're wasting money as per usual. The Australian government is pretty fucking good at that at the moment. We don't know what we're going to do with what we could have done with $20 million, but I know what we could have done is bought a few million litres of petrol or diesel or aviation fuel, whatever we need, oil even. We could have bought a few million litres of oil. But, why not just spend it on some ads? We're gonna take a look at the unfolding fuel crisis here in Australia. And I don't know about you, but I think this is touching everyone at the moment with grocery prices are going to be the next thing to rise. But every day at the pump, it is getting worse and worse. Now, we've seen the government get rid of half of their fuel excise tax, just like during COVID, where they got rid of the entire fuel excise tax. I don't know why they were only planning on getting rid of it, half of it this time. I would dare go to say it would just be because they want to be able to double whammy it and say, look, we got rid of half of the tax. And then in a couple of months' time, they're going to go, look, we'll get rid of the other half. We're going to help out the Australians. Just maybe if it's closer to an election or something like that, if this is still going on, they can always use that as a little prayer bead to make sure that they don't get voted out of power. But with the surging other parties' votes looking the way they are and preferences going the way that they look like they'll be going, the Labor government is going to have a hard time winning the next election. And if they keep dropping the ball on things like this that actually really piss off people, especially the inner city types, they don't like, I don't know, reality when it comes to things like this. And this is affecting everyone, whether you're rich, poor, live in the inner city, live out in the sticks like what I do. It is affecting everyone equally. And I'd say, honestly, it's affecting people in the regional communities more because Australia is such a big place. It takes a long time to get anywhere, and we don't have public transport in places like where I live. So unless you live in a major city like Sydney, Canberra, or Brisbane, or something like that, Melbourne, you're shit out of luck, and you've got to drive everywhere. Not to mention the entire economy runs on fuel, whether it's diesel for the trucks. There's some towns in Australia that run on generator completely. I used to work in one of those mining towns, and the whole place ran on generator basically from the mine. It still does to this day, I'd say. how are these towns going to suffer, and what are their power prices going to look like in the coming months? I don't know, but I can hazard a guess it's not going to be good. Those places are like rural communities, Northern Territory wise. You're paying anywhere between, nearly $10 for a bottle of milk these days. It's insane. Like you can't get fresh. The places I've worked, you can't get fresh food. I don't know if you've ever worked or been somewhere like that, but you get a delivery of. I think one time, one of the refrigeration trucks, containers, sorry, on the barge that come in, had broken down, so there was no meat, and there was no like beef, lamb, or anything like that in the whole town for several weeks. So you can, people who did have cattle or anything like that, there's prices of food skyrocketed. It's a fishing town, so it's a lot of us just went fishing, and I'll tell you the mine site, we ran out of fucking beef immediately. As soon as that, I don't know whether it was like the big wigs, they went and hoarded it all or what, but yeah, things like that happen all the time in rural communities in Australia, and the fuel crisis is just going to be causing bigger issues. But we'll get into that story. This story here from Channel 9 News. The federal government is facing criticism after spending $20 million on a fuel saving campaign to encourage Australians to reduce driving and conserve petrol as the war in the Middle East continues to wreak havoc on prices and supply. In a campaign blitz titled Every Little Bit Helps, the government will urge the public to reconsider driving habits, take public transport, and offer tips for better fuel efficiency. Drivers will be asked to use their cars less, drive smoothly to avoid excess fuel use, carry less weight in the car, and walk or take the train instead of driving. Yeah, that isn't an option for a lot of us, I'd say what 90% of people, it's not an option if you take public transport here in Australia to and from where you need to go. The expensive advertising campaign is now being met with scepticism over its efficacy. Former Nationals leader Mariana MP David Littleproud says motorists don't need an expensive TV ad to convince them to reel back spending on the Bowser. You're not spending money because you can see the price. The price is constraining how much you're putting in the tank. You're only using what you need to because of the price, Littleproud told Today. The government doesn't need to spend $20 million on an advertising campaign. The prices are doing that themselves at the Bowser. Littleproud disagreed that it was unfair for the politicians to ask everyday Australians to reduce the driving while enjoying taxpayer-funded wheels. He said most MPs need cars to adequately serve their electorate. You can travel in an electorate 3 times the size of Victoria on your own wallet. He said this is of his own. Seat. 3AW Shane McKinn said that the campaign was to contrast the government's assertion that Australia's fuel supply is not in jeopardy. Why are we spending $20 million to say save fuel when the PM has repeatedly said there's no fuel shortage? That's exactly, that's a good point. Albo's been sitting there saying, look, we've got all the fuel that we need. We've got more fuel than we've ever had. And he keeps saying it, and no one's fucking believing him. The lispy retard who is in control of this country is sailing us down the river of shit with no wind in our sails, basically. We are going to be finding ourselves in a rather fucked situation in 6 months' time where we're going to be on rationing of fuel. We're going to be, it's either going to be rationing of fuel for everyday people, it's going to be rationing of fuel for industry. It's going to be things like you aren't going to get the delivery of groceries to the store for you to buy. So instead of having daily shipments into stores, they will change that to weekly. And little things like you will not be getting home delivered groceries and stuff like that as a bit of a luxury anyway. But there is stuff like that that just will not be happening. It's going to be like COVID times where you were not allowed to travel further than, what was it, 15 kilometers or some shit like that from your residence. And if you are out, you have to have a good reason. You're either going to work, you're going to the hospital, you're, doing the necessary things to contribute to society. So you're not allowed to just, I don't know, go for a drive, go swimming at the beach or something like that. That's a waste of petrol. That's what it will be in 6 months' time if things do not turn around. Like it could happen quicker than that. It could be a bit slower. There's a lot of things that could be happening. Iran capitulating and going to the table again with Trump. I know they've just walked out of negotiations in there, and it's not looking good. Things like that could happen. If there was another war to start up, say China touched Taiwan inappropriately, and things got heated over there, we are going to be seeing severe repercussions here in Australia. And whether you are whether you live rurally or in a city, it's going to really affect you. Things like, just being able to go down to the shops and fill up your cart for, under your week's paycheck is, you know, getting impossible for some people. I know we're using about $500 worth of fuel a week between two cars, and that's just going to and from work. Taking kid daycare, things like that. Maybe going somewhere on the weekend. It's not hard to use $500 a week in fuel. You got a diesel car, a petrol car, and I got a jerry can just to fill up the lawnmower, a generator, whippersnipper, things like that. It's not hard at all. And this is going to jack up the prices of other things as well, including LPG. So, grabbing gas bottles and putting them whether you have a gas stove in the house. I know they ban some of them in Western Australia and stuff like that. But things like that are going to be harder to come by. And it's going to be more expensive. You're going to be paying a lot more money for it. We're told time and time again there is no supply shortage. This is a complete juxtaposition of what's been told by the government. We are not being told the whole truth here. The fuel information and tips of the advertisers across Australia and online, along with the selected outdoor sites, including billboards and bus stations. Yeah, because driving to and from work, you're really going to stop and read a billboard about not spending money on fuel. That's fucking great. The campaign will cost about $20 million in taxpayer funds. It will officially launch nationwide tomorrow, 2 weeks after the government held urgent national cabinet meeting to discuss the fuel crisis. Minister for Infrastructure Catherine King said the advice will help keep Australia's essential workers on the road. The global fuel shortage is affecting us all. See, that's scary that they're using Australia's essential workers as essential workers in their literature again and news stories, and they're talking about it. So they've had, like, the Minister of Infrastructure has had conversations about essential workers in Australia yet again, just like COVID. They will use the same rule book. They will use the same blueprint that they used last time, rolling on from what they did back in the late 70s, early 80s, the last big Iran issue where they had fuel shortages around the world. That is, the playbook that they will use because they can't come up with any bright ideas. They're the best thing that they've got now is like, oh, if you can't afford fuel, buy an electric car. We just figured something out here on this amazing podcast of mine. We just solved the homeless crisis. If you can't afford rent and you're homeless, just buy a fucking house. Why not? If you can't afford rent and you're homeless, you can't live in a rental, just buy a house. If you can't afford fuel, just buy an electric car. It's simple. What is wrong with you? Just buy an electric car. If you can't afford fuel, just buy an electric car. If you can't afford rent, just buy a house. If you're homeless, just buy a house. It's so simple. Labor government has fixed it again. Oh my God, they're doing so well. I'm so happy for them. This is amazing. We're having a breakthrough here today. Minister for Infrastructure Catherine King, the global fuel shortage is affecting us all. With every little bit helps from running errands for fewer trips and only filling up with fuel when you need. This will help us keep essential services moving. King said the rollout of this campaign and National Fuel Security Plan ensures that we can get the public information they need and keep them updated, and if the situation may change. I'd say it's going to change. If they're starting to refer to people as essential workers and non-essential workers, they have something in the works. They know something that we don't. They know that we are running out of fuel. Well, we all know that, but they keep lying to us. But they know what they're going to do about it. They are going to make people essential and non-essential workers. Now, what's an essential worker in this case? Who knows? I don't know whether I'm an essential worker. I was last time during COVID. I don't actually know anyone who wasn't essential. Like, everything you do, like going to work and earning money to pay your rent, to pay your mortgage, to feed your kids, that's pretty fucking essential. And people do some pretty dark and barbaric things when you take the options of those things away from them. We've seen that a million times over. There was a gentleman in America who had a fondness for bulldozers and welding, who made that abundantly clear to the local town and police force that if you take away someone's lifestyle and impede their, growth and impede their life and freedoms for no reason but red tape, then people will do pretty extreme and violent things. And I wouldn't put that past some Australians. We've seen it happen a couple of times recently. People are over it already. The United States, that people are burning down warehouses because they're not getting paid enough. But you know what? I think the government knows that, and that's why they're not telling us the truth. Not that they ever do. They lie just as easy as they breathe. Now, Australia is heading for the second stage of the government's Keep Australia Moving plan devised during the National Cabinet talks. Energy Minister Chris Bowen said yesterday fuel reserves were a reasonably healthy position, with diesel stocks up and petrol and jet fuel stocks slightly reduced. Albo was talking about a few years ago, we need 90 days. We've got like 16. And it says here, Australia has 38 days worth of petrol, 31 days worth of diesel, 28 days worth of jet fuel. Is that in country? Is that in our bowsers now? Is that in country on hand? Or is that the shit that we we bought in the United States, and is it sitting and holding in Texas? Is that on its way from ships? Is that still technically trapped on ships in the Strait of Hormuz? We don't know, because you don't know where they're getting their numbers from. They make them up. And they just have plausible deniability. They say, it's technically 31 days. 31 days is a fair cry from 90 days, like Albo was whinging about not having a few years ago. And if something else kicks off in the meantime, are you guys going to be able to get fuel? They're already cracking down on people making their own. And I've seen a few, actually. I did follow a car the other day. It was quite annoying, actually. He was spewing out soot. But, you've got to do what you got to do. If you're going to make fucking chip oil diesel at home, do it. And you watch the government crack down on people doing that. Anyway, what do you guys think? Anyway, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next episode.